and future progress of NATO and Azerbaijan relationships in this context. Despite the fact that more than 20 years ago, southern Caucasus countries regained their independence, there is no regional South Caucasus actually structures to allow the governments of Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Georgia to discuss the issues that affect the region as a whole. The main reason of such a situation is the existence of protracted conflicts, and in particular the Armenian-Azerbaijani NagornoKarabakh conflict that create certain conditions for volatility of South Caucasus, which can hardly be considered as region as a whole in itself. At the same time, the past experience shows that protracted conflicts can easily flare up again, creating a constant security risk for the states concerned. The 5-day-long August War of 2008 in Georgia is such an example. Today, the situation on Armenian-Azerbaijani border, or so-called line of contact, which separates the conflicting parties with no peacekeeping force standing in between them, is not also so simple and rather tense. Frontline skirmishes and ceasefire violation has been continued, and thousands of people, both military personnel and civilian, have been killed intentionally or by stray bullets along the line of contact since the May 1994 ceasefire took effect. Therefore, it's difficult to say that this conflict is frozen, and any one of the several incidents that occur along the line separating Armenian and Azerbaijani forces could escalate into a new war. Being both an energy producer and possible transit country in delivering Caspian and Central Asian energy resources to European market, Azerbaijan has emerged as a key regional strategic partner for the development of Brussels energy politics since the mid-2000s. And in this context, a memorandum of understanding on a strategic partnership between the EU and Republic of Azerbaijan in the field of energy, signed by the President of Republic of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, and President of the European Commission, José Manuel Barroso, in Brussels on 7 November 2006, laid the solid foundation for the future strengthening regional cooperation on energy. Consequently, Southern Gas Corridor, a fourth EU gas supply channel, alongside the Norwegian, Russian, and North African, became as one of the EU's priority energy projects aimed at diversifying the routes and sources of energy supply. In that case, we understand that from that perspective as well, that this energy element, energy security issues, is extremely important when we are talking about the future perspectives, future ideas, what will be in this region. At the same time, as already mentioned in the first panel, a lot of very distinctive people around the activities which Azerbaijan actually very actively contributing in transportation of supplies out of Afghanistan via Northern Distribution Network, NDN, which does not traverse Russian territory, with almost 1/3 of NATO cargo actually bound for Afghanistan transiting via Azerbaijan. And as transatlantic organization, in this case, NATO definitely bring together the countries of Europe and North Africa to discuss the security challenges within political and military dimensions. At the same time, based on the UN Security Council mandate, NATO has been fulfilled its various peacekeeping missions in different parts of the world. And right now, the mission in Afghanistan is will be, actually is continuing, but will be ended up in 2014. 2014. In this context, if we are looking forward and thinking what was the Azerbaijan contribution to this process, then definitely Azerbaijan has been a troop contributing nation to ISAF mission in Afghanistan. At the same time, Azerbaijan also contributed to the NATO-led K4 mission in Kosovo. And currently, if we are looking forward at the same time, we can see that from Azerbaijani side, as very rightly mentioned Mr. Ibrahimov, that from Azerbaijani side, there have been a very important maybe contributions, but at the same time, it be also interesting about if we are looking for the future perspective, what could be the perspective, as I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation, some kind of contribution, some kind of way from NATO regarding this situation which we have, and I am really very, very appreciate the speech of Mr. Chetin regarding the way what's going on in the unresolved, protracted conflict over NagornoKarabakh. And in this specific case, I would like, from my point as a researcher, just maybe mention a couple of things which I would like to share with you regarding the NATO stance in this specific case. It seems to me that NATO keeps its neutrality vis-à-vis Azerbaijan and Armenia and has no direct involvement in negotiation over Azerbaijan-Armenian Nagorno-Karabakh conflict itself. However, the failure of the Minsk group, the absence of coherent EU policy steering towards a resolution of this conflict, as well as NATO's unwillingness to clearly position itself, do not really support successful conflict resolution. It's obvious that the EU and NATO are not reluctant to be engaged more closely in conflict resolution efforts. But conflict resolution should be an inherent part of the overall approach, strategy toward the Eastern Partnership within the European Union, Eastern Partnership program, and not a problem that the involved partners, in this case Azerbaijan and Armenia, is expected to solve by themselves. Therefore, a clearer and sounder EU position with regards to the conflict resolution and mediation processes is urgently required from the EU's end. At the same time, NATO can also do more to promote stability in this specific case, and at the same time around the world as a pillar of international security for the Euro-Atlantic region and beyond. In this context, perhaps the Atlantic Alliance cannot discount the possibility that new military commitments could be made, especially with the end of the combat operation in Afghanistan. And in this specific case, maybe conceptualization of the future role is extremely important. And today's world is quite interconnected, as already mentioned with one of the speakers, and we all face global challenges that pose threats to our common future. NATO can help to provide multinational support for national purposes and act as essential source of stability. In that frame, I think that if NATO, together with European Union, can still use some of its assets to speed up a solution of Armenian, Azerbaijan and Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, and within that frame, I think that if we can think that within the specific period of time, let's hope it will be very in short run, and in that framework, obviously that the withdrawal of Armenian forces from occupied territories of Azerbaijan will be accompanied by the deployment of international forces to be organized with respect of the UN Charter in order to provide the necessary security guarantees in a period of transition, which will ensure the security of the population of Nagorno-Karabakh and allow the displaced persons to return to their homes. And in this framework, I think maybe both EU and NATO as a peacekeeper actors can play a role in the field of peace operation And in this case, I think NATO has a clear advantage in the military field, while the EU displays comparative advantage in the civilian field. In that case, if we are looking forward for future perspective, probably such kind of idea, maybe one day, it's just theoretical idea, but one day it could be maybe be possible to be as application in some specific ground.